The Love, Life, and Lose Weight podcast will teach you the art and science of changing your habits around food. If you know what to do, but can't figure out why you're just not doing it, this is the right podcast for you. I'm your host, Advanced Certified Weight and Life Coach, Heather Beardsley. I've helped hundreds of women just like you figure out how to think and eat like a normal eater, lose weight, and love life on the journey to goal weight and beyond. Hey, welcome to episode 16. This episode is called Stop Complaining and Start Creating What You Want. So, do you ever feel like you complain about your weight? Many of my clients and the members, it is a very common thing to have been working on weight for sometimes decades. And that's a lot of time. And over time, especially having a weight issue, wanting to lose weight, it really readily becomes part of how you see yourself. So, as part of your self identity, I struggle with my weight. I often hear things like, everything in my life is great and I've created everything I want, except there's this one thing that I struggle with. So, as a coach, you can imagine when I'm coaching, there is this sort of dynamic that happens, especially let's say I'm on a call and I'm pulling somebody up to get coached who I'm not particularly, I don't know them at all. They're going to come and they're going to tell me what they want coaching on to help them lose weight. And it's so interesting with all the coaches, this happens. It's kind of like a format where they come on, they say hello, they're like, okay, well, let me just give you some background. And they kind of go over the history of the struggles with their weight. They may not go all the way back, although sometimes they want to, but it's a common format of like, here's my history. This is when, I had the problem of weight loss. And here's how I had some initial success. Here's when I had this failure. Here's how I now struggle because of that failure. And here's why I feel all of this disappointment about all of this stuff. And then that's how they tell me that like they need coaching. Like, I think it's very human to ask for help and then justify and tell a story that's attached to what's happened in the past about why we need help. But now here's what I want you to see. You could just as easily come to a call with a coach and say, can you just tell me what to do from this point out? But nobody does that because we have this sort of concept that what we do from this point forward is attached to what we've been doing. And yes, it makes sense that we think that way because of the momentum of our current habits that we have and so on. But just because our habits have been created in a past and perpetuated up until now does not mean that they have to continue in the future. And this is the point of power and focus and choice that a lot of my clients and members, I think all human beings, tend to discount. It's like just because you've been doing it up until this point does not mean that you have to continue. No matter what you think you want to do, you are not compelled to act from any thought. We see this a lot. Like, let's say somebody gets a diagnosis of like advanced heart disease that they had no idea was happening. And the doctor says, look, you've got to do a total lifestyle change. You've got to stop smoking. I want you to start eating whole foods and lose weight. Now, for some people, their attachment to how they see themselves in the current lifestyle that created that heart disease, they see as fixed. And for those people, they probably won't change a thing. They're like, I'm going to be doing what I do because that's who I am. And however long I have is how I have. And for other people, their idea of who they are is more fluid. It's more like, hey, I'm going to do what works for me until I realize it doesn't work for me anymore. And then I can change my mind. So that's a more fluid self identity. And those are the people who might never smoke another cigarette again. They might start exercising and continue for the rest of their life because of that one qualifying event that says pretty clearly from their doctor, if you continue the momentum of the habits that you've had in the past, this is what your future will be like. And this is sort of what I want to offer to all of you today. It's like with your weight, the momentum of your habits, if you continue to justify what you do in each present moment as a factor of who you are and who you've been, you're really going to continue to struggle in your weight loss journey. But there's a different way to do it. Your weight loss goal is not a chore that you task yourself with, meaning the person you are all the way up until now and who you want to bring into weight loss. You can't bring that person with you, that version of you that has habits of thinking and a relationship with food that created overweight. You've got to, the best way to do it is to be like that person who gets news that they have heart disease and just think, well, I don't have to bring any of that from this point forward. I can make all new choices. And even if I have some residual habitual thinking, I can always redirect those thoughts. And so your weight loss goal should directly relate as a tether to a future compelling version of you who you have not created yet. And that's what I want you to do for this podcast. So you are going to need a paper and some pens, and you're going to need to maybe let's have you schedule out, I don't know, 15 minutes a day until you finish the journaling prompts and the homework that I give you. This is going to be one that is really, it's an application podcast that if you want to stop struggling with bringing old you into the new you that you want with weight loss, you've got to do some self identity shifting and you've got to do some saying goodbye and letting go of the you that you've been up until now. Even if you just still even have your last 5 pounds to lose, this is a constant process, really, if you think about it, of allowing um, your relationship to food and your habits around food to continually evolve and change until your weight has regulated to a place that feels really like you, like essential you. So it is a terrible idea to set goals in order to make yourself do something you don't want to do. Think about this with weight loss. You don't want to make yourself lose weight while you still want to overeat pizza and, all your favorite foods. You want to start to think about like, who can I be in relationship to food that will naturally create a version of me who's lost the weight? So that probably means like really making a commitment to enjoy the foods that you do eat when you are hungry. And by the same extension, if you're enjoying the foods that you do eat and you're not eating diet food that you hate, it will be much easier for you to stop overeating too. And then you can start to like plug that into future you. I'm someone who no longer overeats. I tell myself that all the time. Like that is definitely a part of who I already see myself as, even though I sometimes overeat still. So, this is a process of becoming that can only take place once you've let go and you've given yourself permission to let go and say goodbye to the you who had other habits of thinking and acting around food. Okay. So, the urge to lose weight can actually be a call to say goodbye to the version of you who struggles with her weight. And, I understand, like, when I give this lesson, this homework out to my clients who are ready, I see them. They're ready to lose weight. They really have paid attention to and they've really applied the basics of weight loss. And, you know, they're kind of like maybe losing a bit, but like I see there's not a lot of momentum there. And that's a self identity thing because if you see yourself as the big girl, if you see yourself as like the way that you bond with your family is when you all overeat, or who, if you have no idea who you are, if you aren't overweight, that's a void that feels very scary to enter you. So, self identity is really important. And it really is just a product of who you give yourself permission to be, and then just filling in the details. And so for this, I have a bunch of future self journaling prompts that I want you to fill out, and I will go over each one of them. Um, but we can't do that, like I said, until you say goodbye to the version of you who started to show up for weight loss. I don't know, maybe it was 30 years ago. Maybe it was just last year. Maybe it was just last week. I don't know. But the first bit of homework I want you to do is to thank the version of you who started on her weight loss journey. I want you to thank her for showing up, for having the guts to try again, even to have the guts to push play on this podcast. There was there, like, if you've been struggling with weight for a while, there was probably some self-judgment. Oh, why am I even still doing this? You know, because it hurts. It's hard for us when we see ourselves as someone who's not been successful or not been able to keep off the weight, or even just never been able to reach your goal weight, or we judge ourselves for reaching goal weight for a short period of time and then, you know, allowing it all to come back. We will create our results with weight based on how we see ourselves. So there is a version of you who, up until now, thought that she wanted to lose weight while at the same time she was wanting her relationship with food to be what it was. Even if at first glance it didn't seem as though it was helping her, it does work for us. I mean, human beings do what works for them, even if that's not obvious. Like for the longest time, I was somebody who, at emotional upset with relationships with other people, I would turn to food for comfort. I literally did not know how to be with angst, worry, fear, loneliness, things like that. And I would just eat over it. I mean, it never gave me a get out of those emotions free card, because those were all still there, but they were a distraction and a diffuser or a buffer against the intensity of feeling those emotions. And as I've learned to feel my emotions, which you can go back to episode, I believe 14, it is the F word, to start really developing a relationship with especially challenging emotions, you can see that you can tolerate them. And so probably the you that you're saying goodbye to in this letter, she didn't have a capacity No one taught her how to feel her emotions instead of eat. Maybe she relied on pushing herself in perfectionism as a young person, striving, overworking, overdoing, people pleasing, all of these things. And, when you feel like you've got to get out in the world and make other people happy to feel safe in the world, you know, that's exhausting. And, we might develop a relationship with food that is contractual. No one takes care of me. I take care of everyone else. So food takes care of me. I, I once coached somebody who said she was addicted to sugar. I said, "Why are you addicted to sugar?" She said, "Oh, well, sugar is where I get all of the color and joy in my life." I mean, hell, if you think about sugar like that, if you choose to think about it like that, of course you're going to overeat it. So when you write your goodbye letter to you, it's going to say, "Dear," and you put your name. And I first want to go with gratitude. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing the best that you could. Thank you, even to the food, for helping me through some of the hardest times of my life. I mean, the number one food I'm going to thank when I was younger is probably Oreos. Um, Maybe some peanut butter in there too. Maybe Ritz crackers and maybe wheat thins. I do. I am very thankful for them. Before we know the power of thinking and we understand that food doesn't make us feel a certain way, it's our thoughts about the food that give us those feelings. You know, I mean, we want to thank the food for pinch hitting until we kind of like learned differently, right? So you can thank the food. You can thank you who did the best she could, who got through all those late nights, like breastfeeding your kids and like snacking because you were lonely and exhausted. Like, can you feel that real compassion for you? Thank all of that. Give yourself a lot of time for this if you need. It might be emotional. I want you to really, really, really thank yourself. And then when you're ready, I want you to sort of transition over to how you're different now, even if you're not at goal weight. Like, here's how things are different now. Here's how I differ from that version of me who, like overate a lot and gained a lot of weight. And even that version of me who, even up until today, still had thoughts about being powerless, maybe against food or food controlling her, or being constantly disappointed by her choices around food. And you can just say, I am opening up to becoming a new version of me with a new relationship to food, one that will bring me all the way to my goal weight. And if I'm going to become that version of me, I can't also drag the me I was into the future. Because as soon as I do that, I make it too fucking hard. So I'm saying goodbye and thank you. Okay. So that's your first part of your homework. The second part of your homework is to start imagining who you want to be around food. So I did this when I stopped drinking. So I had an over drinking habit for probably, I don't know, 5 to 7 years. And I realized that I didn't want to be somebody who struggled with drinking. And the nice thing about drinking is that you can just stop altogether. Unlike food, we need to eat food, right? So I just said, it's too hard for me to go back and forth with my drinking. I think I just want to be done with this because I noticed it really didn't didn't have many benefits, like any benefits anymore. I believe me, I tested. Um, so I knew with my life coach training that if I wanted to be somebody who stopped drinking, I needed to give myself permission to not want to drink anymore. But I wasn't really in that place yet to believe that because I still had this habit of over drinking. I had not yet stopped. So I did make a decision to stop. And then what I did was for 12 weeks at least, I did not go out. I spent every night reading sober literature. I read Holly Whitaker. I read Annie Grace. I read, oh my God, I can't even think of all the books I read. Some of them were tragic, some of them were very inspirational. But to me, it really solidified in my brain about how trying to continue to have a relationship with alcohol was going to create a future for me that was full of strife and full of struggle. And I wanted to let all that go. So I kind of like convinced myself over 3 months to help me bolster my decision to stop. So you could kind of do the same thing with thinking about future you around food. Um, these journaling prompts are designed to help stimulate your thinking, your creative sense of the calling of who you want to be. Because the last thing I want you to be is somebody who wants to lose weight and who also doesn't want to lose weight. Like, I want the future you at goal weight to be so clear and so vivid and so colorful that she calls you. It's like weight loss goes then, if that's what's happening, from a goal that's designed to make you do something you don't want to do to a playground in which you get to evolve into the future version of you in the practicing the new version of you, how she thinks, how she feels, and how she acts around food. Right? Doesn't that sound amazing? I love this exercise. Okay. So here's your journaling prompts. There are 17 of them. From this point, I'm just going to read them one by one. And so mark this part on the podcast, the timestamp. And if you want to have me just like auditorially read them to you, and then you pause the podcast and you write your answer, and then you go ahead and hit play again, we can go through them one by one. I think that might be nice. And if you, at this point, you're just like, just give me the journaling prompts, you can go to my Instagram page at Thrive in Midlife, and they will all be written down there for you to kind of just read them at your leisure and fill this out. But the goal for this is to complete all of these by next Tuesday. And then we can move on to the next part. Okay, so here we go. Here's number one, future self journaling prompts. How will I feel? Oh, and if you're driving, let me just say this. Why don't you just pause if you can, and you can speak your responses into like your voice recorder on your phone. That might be actually for those of you who are like averse to a lot of writing or journaling. This is what I always recommend. I use a journaling app called Day One. Um, it is a paid version. I'm not sure if there is a free version or if they allow you what they allow you in it, but I will tell you the paid version is worth every penny. Many times in the morning when I do my journaling or any exercises like this, I just dictate, just like I'm talking into the microphone here right now. It's just easier to get a momentum of like just putting your thoughts down. There's no one right or wrong answer. but I do want you to read the words that you write. So, day one will transcribe your audio into written text, which is what's amazing about it. It will also take an audio clip, but if you just use the keyboard icons, you can hit the little microphone there and it will automatically transcribe. Okay. All right. So let's get started. Number one, how will I feel when I am at goal weight? I want one word that describes the feeling. So we're looking for one feeling. Of course, you'll feel many, many ways, but what do you suppose is the one feeling, the overarching feeling that you associate with being at goal weight? Number two, what are 5 ways that I can create that feeling for myself today? What are 5 ways that I can create that feeling for myself today? Number 3, what does future me know that I haven't figured out yet? What does future me know that I haven't figured out yet? Number 4, how does future me at goal weight go about her day differently? Be specific and list as many different things as you can think of. How does future me at goal weight go about her day differently? Be specific and list as many different things as you can think of. Number 5, what is exciting about the future at goal weight? What is exciting about the future at goal weight? What will be the same? Number 6, what does my future self need to do for weight loss that I'm not currently doing? What is the key first step that is doable to creating this in my life now? Number 7, what does my future self need to stop doing for weight loss that I am currently doing? What does my future self need to stop doing for weight loss that I am currently doing? Number 8, what is the key first step that is doable to creating this in my life now? Number 9, how will I know when I am my future self at goal weight or range? How will you know when you get there? Number 10, if I had a magic wand to bring me the future I want immediately, what would I regret? What would I regret not having learned for myself that I know I want to figure out? If I had a magic wand to bring me to the future I want immediately, what would I regret not having learned for myself that I know I want to figure out? Number 11, what will moving into my future self cost me? Number 12, what is the cost of staying where I am? Number 13, what will I choose to say goodbye to when I decide to fully become my future self? Number 14, what will I choose to make room for when I decide to fully become my future self? Number 15, what are 3 words to describe the past year and why? Number 16, if I could travel back to the beginning of the year, what advice would I tell myself that last year was going to teach me with my weight loss? If I could travel back to the beginning of the year last year, what advice would I tell myself that this year was going to teach me? And the last one, number 17, what's the status of the goals I set last year? And what goals do I want to set for the year going forward? Okay. So, especially with the goals, I want you to apply that last question. I want you to apply what we talked about for weight loss not being an exercise and getting yourself to do things you don't want to do. And instead, thinking about who you need to become to want to do the things that you know will create the weight loss. And here's a good chance to be really honest. Like, of course, losing all weight requires you to eat a little bit less because you have a smaller body that needs fewer calories. So, if that's not something that you're willing to do, then maybe you shouldn't be losing weight. Maybe you just need to take a break and really see if you can practice acceptance with where you are. I think for many of us who have been, trying to lose weight for a long time, this reassessment option, this break from losing weight, can be really important because it does allow you to stop striving and just be with where you're at right now. Just be with it. Try it on and say, like, is this the life I want? Is this the body mass I want? Can I be okay here? It really is up to you. Just because you decided years ago that you needed to lose weight doesn't mean that you have to continue that journey. And I like to say that like each day we give our consent to pursue our goals. It is our right to do so, but just because we decided even yesterday to do it doesn't mean we have to do it today. And that's why oftentimes, just for myself, um I also have been somebody who's been on a journey to goal weight for years. I'm still not there yet. I have, about 15 pounds to go. And when I wrote the answer to the goals and what like the last year was there to show me, I know for sure that it was there to show me and how to normalize my relationship with all foods, especially foods that have sweet, natural sweeteners in them, like even artificial sweeteners. Like, because I had, if you don't know, I had fatty liver and I was pre-diabetic for so many years, and I was able to reverse those conditions. I thought the primary reason why was because I didn't eat foods with flour or sugar in them for 4 years. But what I know now is that maybe the answer is a little bit more nuanced than that. I'm sure it helped, but I think the truth was that I cleaned up a lot of the chronic stress in my life and I got a lot happier. I practiced a lot of self acceptance and I also stopped overeating so much. So, the culmination of this year was to take that journey of I can't have these foods because I have these conditions, and then come full circle with them and show myself that I can have those foods. I know how to eat those foods. I don't over desire those foods anymore. And so, in that many ways, that is the culmination of a painful story that I had about who I was. And now the story I tell is I'm someone who did what she had to do to overcome adverse health conditions, and that I can do fucking hard things. And now I don't have to do those things anymore. My body is operating differently. And that allows me to really much more easily make my peace with all foods and learn how to like normalize my desire for all of them, all the super nutritious ones, the ones with low calories, the ones with high calories, the ones with a lot of fat, like all of it. And so I know that that was my journey this year, and that's what this 2022 was there to help me on. And more than ever, I feel like my relationship as I normalized those foods for, 12 months, really practiced putting them on my plan, practicing having them. Of course, sometimes I overate them, but the more I plan them, the less like I over desired them. It really is something that's quite remarkable. And I hope that you all do this work. And sometimes in doing the work of normalizing your relationship with food, like we give up weight loss in order to learn that lesson. And I'm okay with that because I enjoyed the hell out of that journey this year. Bringing pizza back into my life. We bought a pizza oven and Fridays were pizza night. And to be honest with you, I don't always want pizza night on Friday night anymore. I just don't. I'm ready for new things. And so, like, just to use myself as an example for you, I'm more interested in creating a bigger life, to have a kaleidoscope of enticing desires of mine that transcend food, that call me into new relationships. And like gardening is one of them. Um, Building muscle on my body is another one. Um, Practicing yoga in community. Again, I'm already doing that. It feels amazing. Um, Exercising my business skills and my earning potential are big ones. Um, and also, advancing my own certifications as a coach is a big one too. That's going to challenge me. So there's just a bigger richness in my life. And when I know in my life, when I've wanted my life to be bigger, my reliance on food has decreased. And so that is what's calling me. And I just know that I'm going to hit my goal this year. And I know it's going to be in a way that I don't really exactly can predict. But in any case, I'm going to be enjoying the journey because I don't want to be somebody who wants to make myself begrudgingly do something I don't want to do. I want to create a compelling version of myself that calls me into the future and sets me up to be in alignment with the weight that I want to be. And how will I know that I'm there? It's going to feel like essentially me, like the me who had her life and food was just a small part of it. And I feel like I'm back there already. So to wrap this up with the last little piece of homework. And this is so good. It's such a good exercise. Once you've said goodbye to your former self and you've written on your future self and you've got your brain like warmed up with this idea of like creative possibilities. I want you to see that you're becoming in the exercise that I've given you, that your focus is less like that client who comes on the coaching call with me and wants to explain everything about the past to justify her struggle with weight. When she does that, she is an observer of the struggle of what is and a regurgitator of her version of the past. And when you say goodbye to that version of you and you start thinking about the future and the person that's calling you to become, you start becoming a creator of the life that you want to have. And so, this is my question to you. Do you want to be an observer of what is? and a regurgitator of the past? Or do you think that you came to this human life to be the creator of who you want to be, the life you want to live, and the legacy that you want to leave behind someday? I want you to really see the difference in the quality of a human life between those two bookends. And I want you to really enjoy the process of going from one into the other, if it calls to you. Okay, so it's exciting. Here's your homework. With that in mind, each day when you make your food plan and you're thinking about future you, I want you to imagine, how would future you, like, how would she plan her day and how would she eat that food? So for me, I know I lose weight with about two overeats, two meals that I can overeat a week. And the rest, I just eat until I'm no longer hungry, but before I stop before I'm full. So on any one of those days, right now, if I've had an overeat that like I planned, let's say it's pizza night and I want 3 slices instead of 2. I know that's an overeat for me. I'm always good with 2 slices. That's all I need. And if I have 2, I know I lose weight. But let's say one of those meals for pizza, I've decided to overeat. And I went ahead and I had the 3rd slice, and I made my plan and I enjoyed all my other food. Well, I've just lived as future me if I do that. And this is why making your plan and following it as the version of you want to be, that's how you step into giving yourself permission to feel how amazing that feels right now, today, even before the scale catches up with the goal weight number. You get to step into future you by acting as her now, acting from her sensibilities and her values. It's exciting. And you do that often enough, and that's just going to be the new normal. And then, you might have out of the blue, like this idea that like, oh, here's where we turn to emotional overeating because we had an argument with our loved one. And then there'll be that little voice in there that says, no, I don't do that anymore. I might always think I want to, but I just don't want that anymore. That's how I feel when I walk into a bar and I see somebody with a nice glass of Sauvignon Blanc and it's nice and chilled. And I think, oh, that looks good. And then I'm like, yeah, it does look good, but I'm not that girl anymore. I don't want it. So that's what I want for you. I hope it's been helpful. Bring me your questions, ahas, takeaways, or any reflections on today's episode over to Instagram. You can DM me or you can leave me a comment. I love to hear from you or just say hi. Okay, so stay focused. So long. Hey, if this episode resonated for you, then let's connect. Visit hbeardsley.com/subscribe. That's HBEARDSLEY.com/subscribe and get on the list. You'll get a free gift, periodic coaching, plus advance notice of in-person events and workshops.